Hi guys, I'm back with another book review. I know it's been a really long time, but I was on vacation and then there were books that I'd read a while ago, but I don't really remember what I wanted to say about them, so I just didn't do a book review. But I have a new book for you today and I'm really excited about it because I'm just excited about it. It was so good. So the book I have is called The Reckoning. Look at the pretty cover. Oh, so gorgeous. And this is the second book in the Taker Trilogy. I did a review in the box below, but let's see, is there anything I can say in here for the non-spoiler section about this book? Without revealing too much of anything. Alright, so basically, we open up to Luke and Lenore, or Luke and Lanny, her nickname, going to a museum exhibit in London. And this is one of the museums where she donated a lot of her possessions. And while she's there, she feels a presence of a dare, like I guess in the back of her head or something, like wherever it is that they feel him. And she, of course, freaks out. She leaves Luke and she goes off to try and either find a way to escape a dare or a way to, defeat him, once and for all. And then we also have a dare who's newly freed and he's looking for Lanny, though his intentions aren't exactly clear as to what he wants to do to her, or whether he wants to punish her or something else. So that's the basic premise of this without revealing too much. We meet a couple new characters along the way. We get a lot of flashbacks from Lenore and Adair, and we get a lot of character development, and we get to travel to different places. So if you enjoyed The Taker, you're definitely going to enjoy The Reckoning. Okay, non-spoiler part out the window. Okay. Spoilers. Alright. So let's see. So Lenore, let's start where Lenore leaves Luke, and she does it in a way that reminds her of when Jonathan left her without, unexpectedly. And so she's like, oh, this is kind of cruel, but I have to do it or else, Luke's just going to slow me down, or I'm going to put him in danger, so I have to leave him behind. And I have to, make sure he's okay. Because I didn't think she cared about him that much, but I guess. Why not? So then she goes and she looks for her old friend, Sava, who's another creation of Adair's, but we just hadn't met him before, because Adair only kept him for like a short amount of time. And he's been in I forget, I think it was like Calcutta or Casablanca that she meets him in. And so they get together and she tells Sava about what she did to Adair, and he's like, I can't really help you, because he's kind of, he lost his marbles. He went a little insane for living, because he had lived so long, and he has bipolar disorder. So imagine having to deal with bipolar disorder for ever. God, I can't even. So he tells her about Alejandro, which we've met in the previous book. He was one of the people that was in Adair's entourage. So she decides, because Sava can't help her, she's trying to find a way to escape Adair, but at the same time she knows that he's going to catch up to her. So she's just on the run. She's prolonging the inevitable. So she goes to Alejandro, and Alejandro basically ends up saying the same stuff with Saba. We're just not with him as long. And we get a surprising reaction from him. Or, reaction, because it turns out that he was actually really upset that Adair was gone, and he missed Adair, and he wanted Adair there. And they're like, Lanny didn't realize. She's like, oh, I didn't think anyone would miss him. She's like, because he treated us all like crap, She's like, I thought, everyone would be happy. She's like, she's like, oh, I didn't really think about you guys. She said, I just thought about, myself and, Jonathan. She said, I thought I was doing everyone a favor. So, and then he acts like he kind of forgives her. And then, we go, and then since he's like, oh, I can't really help you, he's like, why do you want to escape him anyways? He's like, what do you plan on doing? And she's like, oh, I want to get rid of being immortal. She's like, so then, so much sunlight. So that, when he catches up to me, and, he does whatever, she's like, I won't be his prisoner forever. She's like, I'll eventually die. I'll be released. She's like, because I know, if and when he catches me. I'm sorry, this lighting is really, really bad. Sorry. Okay. So she's like, oh, I know when he catches me that it's gonna be, he's gonna make me his prisoner forever. And he's gonna do all this, torturous stuff for me for God knows how long. Like the end of time. So he's like, alright, I'll help you. He's like, you can go. He's like, go to Tilde. He's like, she's like a changed woman. She's the only one who's really, looked into the darts or arts, or tried to figure out like what we are. So she's like a little weary at first. She's like, do I really want to go? She's like, Tilde's the only other person that scares me as much as Adair did. She's like, she's kind of evil, but Alejandro's like, no, she's a changed woman. She's different now. She's nice. So Lenore's like, oh, well, fine, what choice do I really have? So she goes to see Tilde. And then a lot of stuff goes on, because that's towards the end of the book. But in between Lenore's journey, we also have Adair, some point of views, and then we also have Luke's. And let's start with Luke's. Luke's, he only has, I think, like 3 chapters or so in it, the entire book. Sorry. And it's basically him just kind of reacting to Lenore leaving him, and he goes back to his ex-wife, and he goes to see his daughters, and he's kind of trying to, rebuild himself, even though he's so distraught about Lanny for leaving him. And then she's ignoring his calls and his emails and everything else, so he doesn't even know if she's okay. Like, he doesn't know whether she's alive or dead, like if Adair got her or not. So, he's just worried. And then Lenore visits him to go and warn him, because she thinks, oh, well, Luke doesn't have a fake name. She's like, and he might, Adair might find out that, I was traveling with Luke. She's like, so maybe, like, in order to find me, he's gonna go and hurt Luke and hurt his family. She's like, so let me go warn him to, like,
leave, like, to go somewhere until all this is over. So she goes there and tells him that, and then she leaves, and, let's see, and then Luke, being, oh god, an idiot, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go, he goes back in the house to his ex-wife, and he's like, oh, she's mixed up in some, like, drug money or whatever, and, people are gonna go after her, and he's like, and that's why she told us, that we should, hide, and his wife's like, oh, you fucking idiot, she's like, I hate you, like, why are you doing this to us? And yeah, a typical person, I would be like that too. I'd be like, oh, you fucking idiot. But, sorry, itchy nose. So then he's like, oh, I'm gonna go after her. And she's like, you're an idiot. And he's like, yeah, probably. So, then we also see him again at Tilt's house. A lot of stuff goes down at Tilt's house. And then, let's see, Adair's free. He finds Jude, basically uses Jude's money and funds, which Jude is not happy about. He turns another person in order to get, quick cash. And that person is Pendleton Kingsley. And he's supposed to be like this multi-billionaire or millionaire or whatever. He has a lot of money. And so he has a new person. That's the only person he can tolerate to have around him. He's like, because everyone had like 200 years of independence from me. He's like, it gave these people like too much power. He's like, they're not really gonna listen to me anymore. He's like, they're not afraid of me anymore. He's like, so I'm keeping Pendleton around. Basically, he's just looking for Lanny. That's the majority of his journey here. And then he kind of has an epiphany when he's like, oh, I don't really want to hurt Lenore. He's like, yeah, I want to punish her, and I hate what she did. But, he's like, sorry. He's like, but I don't want to hurt her. He's like, because, I'm in love with her. Like, he has an epiphany. He's like, oh, I'm in love with her. I'm like, so I don't want to hurt her, or I don't want anyone else hurting her. He's like, I just want her to give me a chance and be with me. And then we also get a lot of flashbacks from him, like, to his original story, like, from the beginning. Like, when he was still an old man. Like, we get his story. And, like, how he became immortal and stuff, which he kind of was, typical Adair jackass. But, and that was interesting, because we didn't really learn a lot about Adair, or a lot of what Adair said in The Taker was a lie. So it was nice to hear the truth from the whole, his own mouth. Let's see, what else? I think that mainly summed up Adair's part. And then, Lenore also has the epiphany that she might be in love with Adair. She's like, because a lot of the people that she had, like, affairs with that she loved the most resembled Adair, and not Jonathan. So she's like, oh crap. She's like, do I actually, like, love him? She's like, have I been trying to recreate what we had in Boston? She's like, and then she's like, I refuse to love him. She's like, he's a monster. I'm not gonna love him. So then she's very dead set against that, which I don't blame her. Alright, so then everyone's at Tilt's house. And, it's such, Okay, so Lenore shows up at Tilt's house. And, Alejandra told her, oh, she's a changed woman. So she goes to her and tells her the story of what happened. And then she's like, oh, well, Tilt's like, oh, well, I've been looking into these potions. She's like, you know, and then she goes into the kitchen, makes something, whatever, brings out a jar, like a mug or whatever. She's like, oh, drink this. She's like, it'll, make you human or whatever. How stupid does that sound? She's like, it'll make you human. So, and then Lenore's a little wary at first, because she's not a complete idiot, she's just naive. And she's like, it's really just smells like alcohol and something else. She's like, what is it? And until she's like, oh, it's like just minerals and, other stuff. So Lenore, she's like, whatever. She drinks it, and then she passes out. And she wakes up, and she sees that her hands, or her wrists, are tied to a bed, like the bed frame. And, her legs, of course, aren't, because she's like, oh, I want you to be raped. Bitch. So then, until it's like, oh, haha, you idiot. Like, she's like, I thought that you wouldn't believe me. She's like, but you're still so gullible, just like you were back in the old days. And then we realize that Tilda has not changed at all. If anything, she is worse. And, Alejandro and Tilda tricked her. And Tilda's like, oh, she's like, Adara's coming for you now. She's like, I can't wait to see what he does to you. So then Lenore's like, well, fuck. Like, I came here to escape, and I just walked into a trap. And she's like, and I can't even, like, get free. She's like, I don't have enough time to, like, escape and then run out the window or whatever. And then Adara shows up, and he's kind of, at first, he just tolerates everyone. He's, like, really annoyed by Tilde. He's like, oh, I didn't realize, like, how much of a monster she was. He's like, I can't even stand to be around her. And then he's like, Alejandro's just like a sad puppy. He's like, basically all his old minions, or his old entourage, annoys the hell out of him now. He's like, you're all assholes. He's like, why did I keep company with you? So then he goes to see Lenore, and this is the meaning this whole book has been, rushing towards. Is these two coming face to face after everything that's happened. So they come to face, and he doesn't even like say anything to her, because he's like, oh, I had this whole, in his mind, he's like, oh, I have this whole speech planned. He's like, I was gonna ask her to give me a second chance, for us to really be together. And of course, he is just the lust and rage that he has at her. He just can't contain it, because he's not very good at containing his emotions, especially his anger. So he ends up raping her, that is not a good way to start Adara. Yeah, not a good way to start that. I went over. And so, and then eventually he immediately regrets it. He's like, ah, damn it, like, why'd I do that? He's like, I had a chance to redeem myself in her eyes, and I blew it. He's like, she's never gonna forgive me, she's never gonna trust me. And then, oh my god, I completely forgot a huge part of Adara's story. He brings Jonathan back from the dead. Like, he brings him back to life. Like, literally. Like, he digs him up, brings him back to life, and then rejuvenates him. Even though he doesn't look the same as he did before. Like, he looks a little distorted. And Jonathan's kind of just like, oh, there's this queen of the underworld, and I'm kind of like her consort, or like her bitch, basically. And he's like, oh, she's gonna come looking for me, and she's gonna, punish you. And he's like, I'm not gonna tell you where Lanny is or whatever. He's like, but, if what you're telling me is true, that you want to win her heart back, he's like, do these things, and he's like, promise me you're not gonna hurt her. And Adair's like, oh yeah, I promise, I promise, I promise. Like, I don't want to hurt her, I don't want to hurt her. So then when Adair comes back from raping Lanny and he goes to see Jonathan, because he's like, oh, it's time for Jonathan to leave. He's like, because I don't want this queen of the underworld to come after me. So then Jonathan immediately knows. He's like, oh, you didn't keep your promise to me. He's like, you hurt her, didn't you? And he's like, oh, I didn't mean to. He's like, I couldn't control myself. And then he kills Jonathan again. He kills Jonathan. So then Jonathan's dead again. And, basically to wrap it up, then Luke comes to Till's house. And of course gets the shit kicked out of him because he is a human and he went into a den. Basically a lion's den. Very idiotically. And, gets the crap beat out of him. And then, let's see, Adair basically sends everyone away. And he's gonna give, Lenore, like, a choice. He's like, oh, you can either come with me willingly, or I'm gonna kill Luke, and you're still gonna come with me anyway. So she's like, oh, spare Luke, spare Luke. She's like, I'll be so grateful to you. She's like, I won't try and run away. I won't try to escape. She's like, I'll be very, very, I'll be compliant. So he's like, alright, safe, enough for right now. So he goes and, so she basically goes and breaks up with him a second time. But Luke doesn't believe her. And then Adair does something like that, I guess he like almost compels him. You know how they do in the Vampire Diaries? Or like True Blood? He like compels him to forget about Lanny. And apparently that one works. So Luke goes back to his old life and he has no memory of Lanny. And then her and Adair and Pendleton escape and they live in a secluded castle and they've been like that for a couple months. And, it's almost like they're living like Beauty and the Beast. Like, she doesn't really want to be there, but she's a prisoner. And he's like the Beast, but he doesn't want her to leave, but he wants her to love him, but he doesn't know how to get her to love him. And so he's like, he brings her in one day, and like into one of the rooms, and he's like, oh, you're not happy here, are you? And she's like, what do you expect? And he's like, oh, you're never gonna, love me back this way. He's like, so I'm gonna let you go. And she's like, what? Like, you're letting me go? He's like, yeah. He's like, he's like, you're never gonna love me the way that you love Jonathan. And he's like, I see that you love, Luke now. He's like, so you need to get over them, or get over Luke. He's like, in order to get over, or he's like, I'm never gonna have you love me this way, where I'm forcing your love. He's like, you have to love me of your own will. So then she leaves, and that's basically the end of the book. And yeah, that's it. Which is a little anticlimactic, but whatever. And, sorry, this is a really long view, just a lot of stuff happened. And then, yeah, that's the end of the book. I mean, everything was good except for the ending. Ending was just a little anticlimactic for me. I was like, what? But we have the first chapter of The Descent in here. It's supposed to be, look, available spring 2013. Not available. False advertising. And it's called The Descent, and it's supposed to be the last one. And it's like the first chapter, like maybe like half the first chapter. And it has her, like, and it's apparently like 4 years later, and she's going to see Adair again. And she's going to ask him a favor. and we're like, what's she gonna do? Like, so I'm really excited for the last book. Even though I have to wait like 7 months for it, which is really annoying, but oh well. But yeah, I gave this book a definite like 3.5, 4 stars. It's a very solid read, very enjoyable. If you liked The Taker, you're really gonna love this. Even if you didn't like The Taker, like this, it doesn't go, like, it doesn't switch times that much as The Taker did. So maybe you'll like this one more. And a lot more is going on. Than that, I think that's really it for this review. Alright. Bye.